Are y'all ready for this Ponderosa? I mean, are y'all really ready for this Ponderosa that we got going on here today? Well, we are talking about the Real Housewives of Potomac Season 7 Reunion Part 2. Now, I'm going to need y'all to go ahead and chime down in that good chatterization and let me know what you would rate this episode on a scale of 1 to 10. And I want the rating. I want to know why you rated it, what you rated, and I want to get into the things. But the first thing I thought we would start off with was some of the tweets from last night. Because, everybody, the word on the street was the word on the street. So let's get into it. Our good friend over at cc.loves.u posted a fan reaction that said, oh, quoting Robyn, when we're filming, everything we do should be on the camera. Meanwhile, Robyn over here charging the people on Patreon to talk about Juan's alleged infidelities. Baby, it gets no better than this. It gets absolutely no better than this. So we gonna discuss it all, okay? We gonna talk about it all. If you guys happen to miss our discussion on the colorism issue, I did dedicate an entire video to this topic because I felt like it was so important to discuss that I really wouldn't be able to hit on all of my points within this live recap because we also have some other things to discuss. So, like I feel like the network should have done, which was, again, give that particular topic its own episode, definitely with a moderator, somebody with experience in the field that can actually talk and make sense of the issues that not only are permeating within the cast but also within the viewing audience. Okay, so go tap into that video after we get done with our live discussion. Now, again, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to be here for this live. You guys could be doing anything in the world, and some of y'all are at work, okay? So I definitely recognize the fact that you guys are here, and I appreciate it. All right, so let's get into the tea. Let's go ahead and stage dive into this reunion. Now, for me, on a scale of 1 to 10, my initial thought last night as I was watching the reunion was to I wanted to give it like a 9.9. I did in the beginning. But then as I kept watching it, I got a little disgusted. Okay. So I gotta take away about a point and a half for real, to be honest with you. And I'm gonna give it a straight up 8.5. You know what I'm saying? I want to give it a 9, but maybe an 8.9. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna give it an 8.5. We're gonna stick with what we got. Because I feel like, again, that discussion on colorism deserved more than the 3 minutes that we got, to be honest with you. Now, kudos to the network for realizing that a discussion needed to be had. So let's work on the time frame that we're going to do that discussion within next time. Okay, how about that? And there's still room to grow, Bravo. Yes, indeed. What you can do is you can still have this level of discussion amongst different groups of housewives and reality TV stars on the network at a different time. Oh, yes, you can. Yes, you can. There's still time to improve on this topic. Also, too, for me, there was this callous disregard for just basic civility that I felt like I just did not care for in this segment of the reunion. It was Gizelle saying, well, I don't really care that, Wendy got a martini thrown up in her face, nor do I care that she might have been here with a pocketbook, because I don't like this girl. Okay. I mean, at the end of the day, listen, you ain't gotta like somebody to at least have the basic civility to say, oh, you know what, that probably won't right. Are you at least okay? You know what I'm saying? Are you at least all right? How about that? Just at least that little bit, I feel like would have gone a long way to at least showing some, again, basic civility from the woman who is a former first lady, also the woman who is born into a family of civil rights activists. It just is painful to watch where she is with her thinking and her logic and what she is saying on national television. I don't know about that. That just bothered me to no end. And it just, even, Andy is trying to talk some sense into it, like, you know what? That don't even sound right. That wouldn't hold up in the court of law. Like, that sounds very callous and cruel. It does. It really does. All right. Simply Shamar says had to give it an 8 because of the hypocrisy of the GEBs. Okay. Thank you for that super chat. Now, it's one thing to say you don't like a person. You cannot like a person, but still, not want anything bad to happen to them, or you know what I'm saying? At least care. You know what I mean? Anyway, so those types of things really just bother me. And another thing, okay, y'all know I like Mia. I like, the chaos and confusion that she brings. But I gotta say, something that I did not like was just throwing out the accusation that Wendy and Peter did something intimate. You know what I'm saying? Because the woman is married, you know what I mean? And furthermore, I mean, without actual receipts, you said you saw the security camera footage. It feels to me like a little bit like she is getting what she sees some of her other castmates do, i.e. throwing out something, and she is leveraging that tactic, but it fell flat to me because we are so used to hearing accusations just thrown out there. We've heard it all at this point. We've heard that, somebody was allegedly bumping and grinding at the club in the bathroom with a bartender. We have heard it all. At this point in time, you saying that if she allegedly bumped and ground with Peter Thomas, it don't really phase us no more because we have already heard the worst of the worst. You know what I'm saying? And furthermore, you got to have some type of proof to back this up, a photograph, a videotape, or something, because otherwise it just doesn't hold up. You know what I'm saying? So I didn't like that either. And I felt like we don't need, but like, okay. Yeah, it just don't feel good to me. That didn't feel good. JMW says, Richie, thank you for the recap of all these shows. People on here should get off and watch the recap. Should get off and watch the recap if you're not going to be respectful. Exit period. Petty Mondays. Thank you for the super chat. JM to the W. Okay. So for me, those were the instances that I felt like, gotta take away a couple of points because I feel like this to me don't feel too good, But I gotta give some credit because the producers did, and Andy did hold just a few people accountable that I felt like needed to be held accountable for some things. You know what I'm saying? And we're gonna get into it right now. So we start off the episode with Wendy. And again, if you're watching this later, if you're watching this right now, put your rating in the chatterization and let us know why, because we want to know what your opinion is too. All right, so Wendy tells Gizelle that she has a pattern. This is where we start off at, of, basically coming after people's families and husbands and stuff like that. And we know it's true. It really is. I mean, at the end of the day, whether she wants to recognize it or not, even Andy seems to recognize it at this point. And I don't know, man. It's just like we skating around the issue because she ain't gonna really admit it. You know what I'm saying? But it's a tactic that's been tried and true since the beginning of this show. So it's like, okay, well, we 7 seasons in. You're gonna have to flip the switch because we, the audience, have become immune to these tactics. We have. Tony Henderson says you don't have to like someone to show morality and civility. Jizzy, Robyn, and Mia are bleep, and the hypocrisy of it all makes me mad. It makes me mad as well. Ms. Mac says Mia needs to remember that she. Y'all know what? Ms. Mac, thank you so much for that super chat. I appreciate all the super chats. Okay, I really, really do. Y'all, thank you so much for tapping in, tuning in to me, and turning on to this channel. All right, so listen. Candace says that Gizelle uses the show to lie on Chris. She sat with Robyn and Karen and told them that Chris needed to apologize, but Candace says, apologize for what? For what? What did he do to you? And Gizelle is screaming that he made her feel uncomfortable and says that Candace is actually the one making it a bigger deal than it was. And, Candace is going off and Mia is for some reason interjecting. Okay. Now, again, Mia is suffering from a similar problem that we're going to talk about later with Robyn, and we do have a solution for it. But for right now, I do feel like Mia, this is the same woman that in the previous episode basically alleged, or speculated that it looked like you were embezzling. So for me, Mia, I would tread lightly with defending this woman because she just told the world that it looked like you were embezzling. Okay, so if at a basic level, you might want to remember that, because at this point in time, she has shown you that she is willing to say this publicly, about you and your business affairs. And that does not, it never looks good when somebody claims that you are embezzling. Okay. Even if they do now understand it. I just feel like you might want to watch out for that. Okay. Watch out for it. And so Andy feels like ultimately, Chris and Gizelle can hash it out when he gets out there. Okay. So next it's Chris and Deborah. Okay. Ashley says that Deborah says that editing did not show the words that were coming out of Chris's mouth. Okay. All right. Now listen, I know reality TV will do a whole lot of things. Okay. A whole lot of chop up and screw. But I believe if they was going to really try to put Chris on blast like that, they really could have done so. You know what I'm saying? They really could have tried to Jimmy rig some editing, but they did not. Okay. They did not. So this idea that for some reason we can't trust production to at least show us that he was not trying to touch on, feel on, give any of these women any attention. I just feel like, come on now, like what you expect us to believe Miss Deborah, who we don't even know. All right. Who we don't even know. Genesis says, I honestly didn't know that they were going to show in Jizzy's, didn't know what they were going to show in Jizzy's package, because the only substance I could remember from her storyline was the hysterectomy. And we'll talk about that. We'll definitely talk about that. Thank you so much, Genesis, for that super chat. I appreciate that. Happy Eddie then comes up, and then Wendy takes the opportunity to let Ashley know that, it seems like the women on the show get uncomfortable when men show them basic levels of respect and decency. And the men can then not even communicate with the women in this group for fear that it will be interpreted as something else. And to me, this could have summed up the entire second part of the reunion right here, okay? Because that is the truth of the matter, right? Wendy speaking the facts right here. So next comes up Candace's IG live video wherein, she said, she talked about the women being fake, except for Robyn and Karen. Well, especially except for Robyn. So Andy confronts Robyn. He says, well, she actually said something nice about you in her Instagram live. And of course, Robyn says, well, I was only sent the clip of it from the blog. Okay. And she says, well, but honestly, for real, I mean, from what I saw, I mean, Ashley and Gizelle didn't have any products. So it was all the rest of us that have products and services that we are providing for the people on the internet. So it had to be me that she was talking about when she talked about the people peddling their products and their services, except for the fact, Robyn, that she specifically called you out, and she specifically talked about she supported your products and your services, babe. Like, what's going on? Come on, babe. You got to do a little bit better than this. And I feel like sometimes on this reunion, every time she opens up her mouth, I mean, it's like hypocrisy it's just dripping out of it like saliva. You know what I'm saying? And I do have a solution for her coming up. We'll talk about it in a minute. But I mean, in the meantime, it's like hey, just look cute for a bit. You know what I'm saying? Just sit there. Look cute for a bit. Try that. So Candace tells her, girl, you weren't even smart about this. To try to do all of this stuff like that. And that's when Robyn says, well, everything that happens in this group should be discussed on camera. Oh, should it? Should it? Okay, should it? Should it? Oh, okay. Is that okay? So let me understand, Robyn. Okay. Is that specifically related to everybody else and not you? How does that work? Riddle us that little bit of information. How, Sway? How? And even the producers had to Let's play the footage, because 2 weeks later, Miss Ma'am, you are going to be sitting on Watch What Happens Live answering questions about Juan allegedly paying for a woman's hotel room and allegedly not even having the time to spend in that hotel room with this alleged woman, and how you went through all of this and how you confronted him about it, how you dealt with it, and how you did not bring it up because you were waiting for one of the other women to bring it up, and then have the nerve to ask Andy, well, I don't understand why Candace was upset when in the reunion, you just basically told her that everything that everybody goes through should be talked about on the show. It shouldn't? Should it? Okay. Okay. So let's practice what you preach at a basic level. Just practice what you preach. Otherwise, again, just sit there and don't say nothing, because if Robyn said nothing, she would be better off. All right. There's a discussion about how long Robyn and Candace have been friends and how much Candace looked up to Robyn and how she felt like Robyn was the most loyal person. So Wendy says that when Robyn pulled out that JBL speaker and she tried to blast Candace in front of the group, she had to poke Candace and like, oh, this is who you said is the most loyal? Okay. Robyn is then like, oh, it's not a competition. It's not a competition. Let me say this. And we do have to talk about Candace's space in this. Here is my issue, okay? And it's not really my issue. I feel like this may have been Candace's issue. Personally, I think that Candace looked at Gizelle and Robyn as big sisters almighty. However, the unfortunate thing is she knew that Gizelle had allegedly plotted and schemed before. When you saw what, I can excuse her not wanting to analyze what happened with the Monique thing, because Candace and Monique had a severe falling out. So yes, she may not want to analyze what happened prior to them falling out, i.e. alleged, plotting and scheming. But when you saw it happen to Wendy, okay, and Big Sisters Almighty 1 and 2 were coming at Wendy, okay, especially when Big Sister Almighty number 2 already knew what Wendy was talking about, then you should have looked at them and said, these are not my big sisters almighty, okay? These are not my big sisters almighty. And therefore, the disappointment level in these two women would not have been so harsh, because you would have seen the pattern back then. So you have always got to look at how people treat other people in your life. This is just a basic lesson in life, right? You have got to learn to look at how people treat other people, because it is typically 9 times out of 10 how they are going to treat you. So you cannot expect, okay? You cannot expect them to all of a sudden have a different standard when it comes to you, because you're not above it, okay? You're not above reproach. If they can do it to her, they can definitely do it to you. All right? Now, Simply Shamar says, you would think if Robyn was really Candace's friend that she would have listened to the full audio and go to her, because she would have never done that to Gizelle. Absolutely right. My thing is this. If they were really but here's the thing though. I cannot fault Candace, because if you really and truly think that someone is your friend, I know it can be hard. It can be difficult. But we always do have to look at how they treat other people. We have to. Okay? We have to. Lemonhead says they should have a 30-minute discussion on colorism instead of Robert's segment, because it's not like he's going to give us something new. Just the same old lies. Thank you, Lemonhead, for that super chat. So I do feel for Candace in that, because it's happened to just about every last one of us. We have in our lives seen someone treat somebody else disgracefully, and we have, for whatever reason, thought to ourselves, oh, they won't do that to us. not realizing that, oh, yes, they have the capacity to do it to us. Okay. But it just hasn't happened yet. It just hasn't happened yet. All right. So Andy's like, oh, it's time for lunch. All right. So, Wendy runs out and she tells Eddie they've had 3 segments and Mia has mentioned him 3 times. G stops by Candace's room and he would hug her, but with the current state of affairs, that's probably not a good idea. And Robyn has to go change her feminine products. I don't know why we got that bit of information as well. Anyway, Gizelle is up next. She's been dealing with the health scare. She's empty nesting, and there's a whole live show that Karen has maybe allegedly copied her and Robyn. I don't know. This is the allegation, right? So, we get into the combination of women who do the same things. Basically, we talked about this yesterday. Karen says that she's already been working on candles before Wendy came along. Karen says she also got the idea from maybe Wendy Williams, maybe Carol Burnett, maybe influenced by Luann, the Countess. I don't really know. Okay, fine, whatever. We get into Gizelle's hysterectomy. Now, to me, this was the opportunity that the producers had to really dive into what it means to a woman to go through this type of ordeal. I wish I could talk more about something that's happening right now with a close family member of mine, who is having to have this operation in the next couple of weeks. So for me, as the person who is going to be there for my family member, it would have been nice to have seen what she had, what discussions she may have had leading up to it, what any type of doctor's appointments she may have, conversations with her girlfriends. I would have loved to have seen more about this. And I know for a fact, especially if Gizelle said that this was the first time in the 7 years that she's been on this show that she's gotten such an outpouring of support and questions and love and all that kind of stuff like that. And Candace says, well, this is the first time that you've been real, and to me, I don't know if it's Gizelle or the producers that aren't giving her the space to have this level of discord, because I think these are the types of topics that, while we enjoy shade and reads, we also enjoy human connectivity and understanding the human experience and what other women go through, what other men go through. This was a missed opportunity in the arc of storytelling, especially for one of the women that you consider to be the face of the show. You don't even give her that space to have that conversation. I don't understand that. Why was that put to the back burner and mentioned literally about one time during the season? You guys, you have to give her that space to have to humanize her, because otherwise we don't get the full scope of who she is as a woman. So I don't know if it's that she didn't give that much or if they didn't use that much. But what I will say is there was a missed opportunity there, and it's unfortunate. Tony says, Andy took me out when he told Jizzy, no, we're talking about it now. About time he tries to hold her feet to the fire. And yes, there was a moment there when he's asking her about how did this affect, you and your kids, and how did they handle it? And, she says, well, we'll talk about it later. Girl, you are not in charge of this rodeo. You are not. Okay. You are not. You are not in charge of this rodeo. It is not. No, ma'am. That's not what we're going to do. Okay. That is not what we're going to do. And Andy says, we're going to talk about it now. Okay. We're going to talk about it now. So she does have a moment where she gets emotional because, she didn't know if she was going to make it. She didn't know if she was going to, how she was, if she was going to be able to come home that night. The kids were worried. And again, this is what we want to see. Not that we want to see her go through something, but when you do go through it, how do you get through it? That to me is what makes great storytelling. And that's what we need to get back to with this show, is great storytelling. telling, okay? Less exposing and reads and shade and this, that, and the third, because it's not landing anymore. It's just not, okay? She does make a point where she says if production doesn't want to show these things, that's on them. But she's not going to sit with somebody she doesn't talk. Wendy, girl, stop focusing on Wendy. Okay, this is not Wendy's segment. This is your segment. Whether or not you talk to Wendy or not, you have more people on this show that you claim to like than not. So Wendy can't be the only reason why you didn't have this discussion with more of the women on this show. And it can't be a situation where I don't want to discuss these things with women I don't like. Well, don't discuss it with them. Discuss it with the ones you do, like Robyn, okay? How about Karen? How about, because listen, these are ways that you can identify. How about with Mia? Okay. How about with Jacqueline? If we're going to use Sharice for something, I mean, if she's going to be there, why don't you have the conversation with her? You've been advocating for her to come back on this show. So use that time that you are spending with Sharice to have this real conversation. Please. All right. We get into Steve, whoever she is, whoever the man is, and whether or not we're gonna see him next season, or if we're gonna see Jason Cameron next season. I don't know. Perhaps we will, perhaps we won't. Who knows? Wendy's package is up next. All right. I got to go back to something because I missed something about and I need to see. Oh, I'm gonna get to it in a second. We're gonna get to it. Hold on. Wendy's package is up next, and we start with her health, and she has dialed back, some of her activities, and she is changing her diet, and she's increased her water intake. And honestly, these weren't things that I knew about kidney stones. And so for me, I feel like, oh, this is good information to know. We need to be drinking our water out there, okay? Brittany Rice says, I think Gizelle thinks she's part producer on the show based on her comments on the episode and last week's episodes. Andy is your boss, not your BFF. Boom, that part. I mean, sometimes, listen, true, all true, Brittany, all true, all right? All true. Denatra says, this is childish of Jizzy. If it were her daughters who would be considered dark tone, she'd be livid. Right is right no matter if you like the person or not. Absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. All right. D Girl Coco says, Andy gathered her together. She was told in that moment, do as I say. I wonder how that made her feel. I really dislike her ignorant character. Thank you so much for that super chat. All right, so listen. We get into Mia and Peter, and how Mia knows him. And, there's a story there. It's neither here nor there when it relates to what we're talking about. And Andy doesn't understand why Mia threw the drink on Wendy with regards to the conversation that they were having because it came out of nowhere. And Mia says she kept saying stuff about, her relationship and she had had enough. So Andy says, well, it seems like you were making the drama about you. And Wendy steps in and basically tells her that she assaulted her and it was effed up. And Mia's like, well, do you want to talk about the fact that you effed Peter? You gave him the cookie and I got the receipts. I got the receipts and there was video from the restaurant or whatever. And I'm like, okay, where are the receipts at? Let's talk about the receipts. Where they at? Where they at? Because otherwise, it's just an accusation that's thrown out there, similar to what Sharice did to Karen. Okay. Wendy's like, girl, you just saying that because you want to. And Mia says, yes, y'all had dinner beforehand and she saw it on the camera. And Wendy's like, well, girl, you effing for lobsters. And Mia's like, I mean, I didn't deny it. That was the one part I did like. So Andy says, Robyn, you were recording Wendy and calling her antagonistic. Well, Robyn says, well, first, I don't know how I would react if someone threw a drink on me. And Andy is like, girl, we've seen we've seen you in action before. We saw you run up into Ashley's restaurant and put your fingers in her face. We saw you approaching Monique after she told you to get out of her face. So we know it wouldn't end well. And so Robyn says, well, people have the right to react to things how they want to. Do they now? Oh, all of a sudden people can react how they want to react. But about 2 years, you know what? Never mind. Okay, never mind. Honestly, so Robyn then says, she didn't want to see Wendy fighting on television. I'm like, so you record her? Is that what you do? That makes so much sense. This is okay. So let me tell you guys what Robyn's problem is. All right, I'm gonna show you. Okay. All right, this is Robyn. Can you see her? Can you guys see her? Can you see Robyn? This is Robyn. All right. This is Robyn, and this is what typically gets her in trouble right here. You see it? Okay. It's her, it's this. This is what gets Robyn into trouble. All right. Every time. This right here gets her into trouble. So, you know what? If Robyn, okay, if Robyn would just do this, okay. All right. Do you see that? Okay. 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 If Robyn would just do this, all right, then Robyn would have less issues in her life right now. If she would just do this, okay, just don't say nothing, okay, and then I promise you, Robyn, all of your problems will be solved. Okay, all of them, all of them, all of them, every last one, every last one. All Robyn's problems come from her opening her mouth. Okay, if she honestly sat there and just looked good in her blue, okay, and rocked back and forth, flipped her hair once or twice, you know what I'm saying? Gave us a little look every now and again, Robyn would be all right. Robyn would get by, okay? But for some reason, Robyn don't know when to okay, she don't know when to open her mouth, okay? So instead, what you do is you just don't say nothing. You know, it's been plenty of situations in my life, okay, that I could have gotten myself involved in something, but you know what I did? I kept my mouth closed because keeping your mouth closed will keep you out of trouble. Do you know that? Okay, did you know? All right, and so anyway, so Karen was like, "Well, then why did you tell Wendy to fight or shut up?" And Robyn says, "Well, because Wendy kept going." And I said, if you want to fight, fight. And if you don't, then don't. So we get a flashback of Robyn and Wendy talking. And Robyn is saying her, listen, if you going to fight her, just fight her when the cameras go down. Oh, okay. Thank you, Rob. Okay, again, see, here is where we have another issue. Okay, she did not do this, okay, when she could have done that, all right? So you're going to tell the girl, fight when the cameras go off. Oh, okay. Yeah. That'll work. All right. So anyway, so Wendy says, you did absolutely nothing to the aggressor. You chose to have that conversation with me about doing nothing when I was the victim. That's effed up, Robyn. Okay. And so at this point, Robyn decides to change tactics. Okay, she decides to focus her energy on Karen because she can't get out this mess. So what she says is, well, Karen was the one who could have diffused it. And Karen is like, no, why am I in it? Okay, why am I in you leave me out your mess, Robyn. Okay, leave me out your mess. You were gaslighting. Andy was like throwing gas on the fire. Karen gaslighting, Andy throwing gas on the fire. Okay, well, whatever. She was doing something with the gas. Okay, she was pumping gas. I don't know. She had the gasoline, right? She was gasoline. You know what I'm saying? She was tossing it around, waving it in the air like she just don't care. I don't know what she was doing with the gasoline. She was gassing it up. Okay, so are we gonna really touch on how the fact that it was probably wrong for Wendy to have a martini thrown at her and get hit with a pocketbook? Because I feel like that's getting lost in the shuffle. It really is. All right. So anyway, Andy, has to step to Robyn again. Girl, can you acknowledge that if Sharice had to get up and stop you from getting over to Wendy that you needed to be stopped, that you was being aggressive. And Robyn was like, I mean, I said I didn't need her to put her hands on me. That's not what you said. That's not what I remember. But okay, fine. If that's what you said, that's what you said. But at the end of the day, you're not gonna try to make us believe that at the end of the day that you won't about to try to roll up on the girl, okay? Because we've seen you roll up before. And you know the girl was sitting down in her seat, and just because she was telling you to sit down 28 times, does that mean, that she was telling you to stand in your truth 28 times, does that mean that you need to get up out your seat? No, it does not. You can argue from 6 feet away. And I think on this show, you might have learned that that's probably your best bet. Okay. Meanwhile, Andy tells Ashley, girl, you flip-flopped on your stance on violence. Because with Monique, you felt one way, and now with Mia, you felt another. And Ashley says, well, listen, no. She says, at that point in time, nobody was on Monique's side. But in this situation, everybody was on Mia's side and nobody was on Wendy's side. So I did what I could. Okay. I did exactly what I could. And thank God somebody did, because otherwise Wendy would have been over there all by herself. Truth be told. So so then Gizelle says, well, what Candace did to Monique was she beat her up. She beat her up. And so Andy says, but you felt comfortable. Okay. You felt comfortable. You felt uncomfortable with Chris. And Wendy is telling you that she felt a certain type of way in that moment about how you all treated her. And that was the most disgusting thing I have probably seen. It wasn't what she said. It was the emphasis on what she meant. Because here is a woman telling you how affected she was by how everyone treated her when she felt at her lowest because something had happened to her. And you say, basically, well, I don't like her, so I don't care. I was speechless. I was really speechless. I really was. I honestly couldn't. I don't even know if I have the words to convey the level of disappointment that I felt in that moment as I was watching this show, because I was like, dang, like, and what it tells me is we're watching a show full of a group of women that don't even like each other. It's one thing to be like, you know what? I don't really care for this girl. I mean, but at least make sure she all right. It's a completely different situation to be like, I don't like this girl, so I don't care what happened to her. But we saw it. We saw this already. The same thing happened with Monique. In that same instance, versus reaching down a hand to try to say, hey, sister, I don't like what you did, and I don't really care about you. I don't really like you like that. But what I will do is, girl, what are you going through? How are you feeling in this moment? Are you okay? You know what I'm saying? Because if you're gonna, it's just about being a human on some level. All right. Thank you so much, Marcella, for the super chat. I appreciate you. I really do. It was baffling to me. Simply Shamar says, I think the most triggering thing was how they just sat at the table and no one diffused the situation and acting like it was live dinner entertainment and then comforted the aggressor afterward. Exactly. It was like, check on check on both of your honestly, check on both of them. Check on both of them. Cause something is going on. Okay, something is going on. And you being the ex-first lady, the face of the show, I would expect you to at least want to know, is everybody okay? Is everybody okay? You know what I'm saying? So at that point, Andy and Candace take her to task for and question, girl, like, where is your moral compass in this situation? Because it seems askew. All right. So Wendy takes the floor and basically tells Mia how badly it impacted her, how she did not fight her because she respects herself more than to go there. And She made up with her in Mexico because she wanted the group to move forward. And I think there's something to be said for that in this idea that even though you may not like someone, and even though you may not like what someone did to you, Wendy was in this instance the victim. And she and Mia had a moment that was so intense that it turned physical for Mia. If Wendy can come to the table with Mia and say, let's move forward, okay, in some type of way, for the sake of the group, that is showing what I feel like sisterhood is supposed to be. And one of the reasons why we like to watch these shows, because we see, we don't want to see violence per se, but when we see something happen in conflict, we get resolution. And to want to take part in the resolution for the greater good of the group, I just feel like that's what's missing overall in this show at this point. Okay. For me. Now, Tania says she secretly likes Wendy because why does she hate her so much? It's something that she ain't saying. Thank you for that super chat. But then Gizelle says, well, weren't y'all bumping hoo-has or whatever? And then Mia says, well, she don't know what she want. And Wendy says, listen, that was the tequila talking. I'll do whatever on the tequila. I mean, she didn't say that, but the inference was it was blame it on the alcohol. You know what I'm saying? I feel like Wendy and Mia can get along. Wendy and Mia can be in the same space. I feel like they will probably go on to do so next season. But it also screams something to me that Gizelle, for whatever reason, can't seem to at least have some sense of human response to the things that Wendy is saying. All right, so next up is the topic of colorism. I've already stated how I felt about this. For those of you guys who missed it, we did do a video on it earlier. I will say that I felt like this should have been a longer conversation. It should have been held by a moderator. It should not have been left up to any of the cast to really have to lead that discussion. I also think that it would have benefited from a live audience who were able to ask questions, because I do not think that the issue of colorism lies solely within the group. I think that it could also lie with us as viewers, and I say us meaning me, because I think that there could be some unconscious bias that we all have, and we could all learn to do better. We could all learn a little something from this conversation, especially if you have an expert on hand to facilitate that conversation. I also think that Andy could have left the stage, because I feel like otherwise what it looks like and it feels like is the ladies are tap dancing and tiptoeing around the topic and wanting to be more politically correct than they were to try to get down and dirty into the nitty gritty. And no, that does not mean that they have to have an argumentation about, who is colorist and who is not, but maybe how colorism impacts the group and impacts the viewing audience's dynamics and how we look at things that happen on the show and how we treat certain cast members and how we can do better. Okay, period. Now, if you want more on that topic, definitely go watch that video, because I do feel like it deserves a second, its own space. Okay. But I don't want to go back and rehash all of that because I already did. Super chats real quick. Lemonhead says, also, instead of an audience, in my opinion, they should do a panel with Black YouTubers that's been supporting since day one of Potomac. They will ask the questions the audience wants to know. Thank you for that super chat. I appreciate you. And we have another one from Denacho, who says, I just realized that Jizzy tends to be at odds with everyone except Robyn every season. Girl, why? She needs to dig deep inside. Projected self-hate. Thank you for that super chat. I do appreciate all the love. Now, one more from Rosa, who says, Mia forgot that Wendy's husband is a lawyer. She should be careful with such accusations. Thank you for that super chat as well. I forgot about that as well. Eddie is a lawyer. Essentially, yeah, I mean, those are my opinions on that colorism conversation, and hopefully the next time it happens, we'll see it on a bigger platform. Not a bigger platform, but on its own separate special, and we'll get to dig a little bit deeper into the nuances of it as well. So I'm hopeful. All right, so Jacqueline is there, and she comes out. She hasn't seen Mia since they finished filming. And it's really disappointing for her because Mia feels like they could have done better. My general sense in this moment is that Mia feels like she wishes they could fix the issue, but I feel like for Jacqueline, it has been already taken too far. I could be wrong though. Okay. Mia says that she felt like she became overwhelmed because of all the support that Jacqueline needed. And Jacqueline is like, well, no, girl, my sister was my nanny first. I lent her to you because you were overwhelmed. Okay. Allegedly. So Andy asked if Mia felt bad since, like, was she treated differently when she was younger because she was adopted? And Mia says, no, she was not treated any differently. So Jacqueline tells Mia that, girl, you are unhinged. Let me give you examples, okay? You sent a group message, okay, about her, well, allegedly, I guess it's not alleged because they showed it on the screen. Mia sent a message about Jacqueline being on the food stamps or something and unemployment. Baby, let me tell you something. Raise your hand if you've been on unemployment here before, okay? I can faithfully raise my hand and say I've definitely experienced that. How many of you in this audience have fell on hard times? I definitely can probably say that there are a good at least 40 to 50% of us who have experienced such issues in life. And if you have not, number one, lived long enough, and number two, thank your lucky stars that you may not have, okay? Because it can happen. You just never know what can happen in life. So you got to always be careful about that type of, discussion and talk and how it comes out and how you frame it. You know what I'm saying? Thank you, Naquan, for that super chat. I appreciate you. And I see hands are raised. And there's nothing to be ashamed of because life happens. And when life happens, sometimes life comes at you fast. You know what I'm saying? And so for those of us that have been through this, we also look back on those situations. And sometimes we have to say, thank you, God, that we went through it because of what we learned in the process of going through. So I don't ever think that's something to shame somebody for. You know what I'm saying? That's when you reach your hand back and you help and you figure out what you can do. And also, I feel like as friends, you know what I'm saying? It always pains me to see friends break up to this level. And I feel like we have got to say this. There has got to be a space in our lives when you have in your friendships, even if you fall out, you do not ever, ever, ever start to release all types of private info that the two of you guys know about each other. Because to me, that is just, it just don't look right. It ain't cool. You know what I'm saying? It don't feel good to watch on television. So this whole thing with Jacqueline and Mia breaking up in terms of their friendship and their sisterhood, I don't understand it. Okay, I really don't. I don't even know what they're fighting about because I feel like there are missing parts to this puzzle that I don't think that I or the audience will ever understand. And for that matter, I do feel like y'all need to make this thing right. Make this thing right. But you know what? Instead of making it right, what they have chosen to do, all right, is they have chosen. Should I get started? Okay. Do you want me to go first? No. Do you want me to go first? Because I got the receipts. Okay. I got the receipts in the box. I got them. Do you want me to go? Because I'll go. I will go. What page you want me to start at? What page? Because I will start this. I will set this thing off. I will get down to it. Who want to go first? Which one of y'all? Who? Am I going first or you going first? Because I will nail you down with these receipts, okay? Because I got it right here. I got the credit card receipts. I got the hotel receipt. What else I got? I got the receipt from that time I paid for dinner for you. I got the receipt from that time I bought your CVS stuff. Okay. I got the receipt from that time you rode in the Porsche. What else I got? I got the nanny receipts. Okay. I got the receipts from when you was 5 years old. I got all the receipts. Yes, I do. And I will release them. Okay. I will release them. Who want to go first? Who want it? Who wants it? Okay. Who wants it?
See it? Yes. Oh, she got a box. Pandora's box here. Okay, so you want me to bring it out? You want to start? Okay, let's start.
You want to bring it out? You want to start? Okay, let's start. You want to bring it out? You want to start? Okay, let's start. You want to bring it out? You want to start? Okay, let's start.
What is happening?
Oh, you want to see it?
Yes.
Oh, she got